Just this morning, a new report came out, and it showed and proved that the U.S. job market is far weaker than anybody ever predicted. And the report that came out today was the worst report we have seen in the U.S. history. Look at this. It says U.S. job growth revised down by 911,000 through March, signaling the economy's on shakier footing than realized. That's 911,000. That's, if you read it right, 911. That is a huge, huge concern. That right there is an emergency. But this is why it's important. Look at this right here. It says annual revisions to non-farm payrolls data for the year prior to March 2025. So this is March or 2024 or April 2024 through March 2025 showed a drop of 911,000 from the initial estimates, according to the preliminary report. The total revisions was on the high end of Wall Street expectations, which ranged from a low around 600,000 to as many as 1 million. It says the revisions were more than 50% higher than last year's adjustments and the largest on record going back to 2002. On a monthly basis, they suggest average job growth of 76,000 less than initially reported. Keep in mind, over the past year, we've averaged about 145,000 jobs. So we subtract the 76,000 from that. Again, that puts us around 70,000 jobs. 70,000 jobs per month. Just last week, we were told that it was at 22,000 for the prior month. Again, this is troubling. But I come on here and bring this up because many people were saying that, oh, you're being negative. The jobs market isn't as bad as you're saying. And I was telling you the truth. Yes, it is. I'm not going off of all the different data that the government provides. Yes, that's a very good indication. But again, those numbers can be skewed. But when you listen to people, when you get comments after comment after comment, you get text messages, I get phone calls from people saying, hey, I just had to lay off, a dozen people today. When you are creating relationships with people out there and they're telling you that this is bad, it is really bad. And I've been warning you guys to prepare for this because it is coming. But let's just listen to this. And again, we're going to talk more about this, but this could just be the beginning.
There were actually 911,000 fewer jobs created in the 12-month period through March of this year. So that makes it the largest preliminary revision on record. CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich is in New York. Vanessa, as I just pointed out, this is huge, the largest revision on record. Walk us through what you're learning.
Well, this just signals in that time period from April of 2024 through March of 2025, the jobs market was a lot weaker than initially reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I do want to point out one thing really quick, that one of the things that I want to be very clear on is for much of this report, for 8-9 months, this is from the Biden administration. The other, 3-4 months is from the Trump administration. And in the first couple months of the Trump administration, this is January, February, really March, that's when the Department of Government Efficiency stepped in and were laying off people. So again, this is the troubling thing, is the economy is not as strong as many people were saying. Which again, even though this is a year in the past, and there's going to be another revision that comes out in February 2026, but this is all a year in the past. So a lot of people are going to say, well, why does this matter? It matters because now we're being told the truth. Now we're starting to see the actual numbers, and that's key.
So 911,000 fewer jobs added over that time period. And when you average it out over those 12 months, you get a revision, a downward revision of an average of 76,000 jobs. Now, this is a report that comes out every single year. It is typical. It is a typical report. What is a little bit atypical about this report, it is much higher than what we've seen in previous revisions. So the average number of jobs revised down is a lot greater. Now, it's important to note that this time period that we're looking at, most of these months were under the Biden administration. Just 3 months of this report was under the Trump administration. But in terms of what it's telling us about the economy, it's pointing to key sectors that are seeing downwards revisions in the number of jobs added. Sectors like trade, transportation, utilities, down about 226,000 jobs. And then you have leisure and hospitality and professional business services, also with triple digit losses in terms of jobs that we thought were there but are not there. This is what happens in these reports. There's a couple reasons why we might be seeing these downward revisions. The first is that this is an estimate initially, and there was weaker than inferred job creation at new companies. So companies thinking they were adding more jobs that they didn't end up adding. Sampling errors from responses from businesses. You get these initial responses from businesses, but then this larger one-year report looks at quarterly tax filings, which are a lot more specific. And also in this preliminary benchmark report, you're not going to see the accounting for undocumented immigrants because they are not included in those quarterly tax filings.
Okay, so there's that. But again, keep in mind, this is the beginning, okay? 911,000 jobs were revised down. Okay, that means we didn't add as many jobs as we were previously reporting. Now, this is what the Federal Reserve looks at. They look at things like this, that the economy's been strong, our labor market fairly strong, it's now stable, or it was. But what does this tell us? This tells us the labor market is not as strong as it was. This tells us that over the past year, we had a weaker labor market than many people expected, many people were seeing. And I told you this from the beginning. The job market is a lot weaker than what we're being reported. Some people argued against it. Other people said, yep, you're exactly right. We are seeing layoffs after layoffs after layoffs. But look at this, because it's going to get worse. It says tariff-exposed industries are losing jobs. But what industries are those? Well, I want to show you that because the U.S. manufacturing is one of them. They're losing thousands upon thousands of jobs. I talked to a friend of mine about a week ago, and he runs a manufacturing plant. And one of the things that he told me was that they haven't laid off as many people as they were expecting, but they have done something different. They've given people additional responsibilities. They aren't hiring more people. They pretty much just shut the door on new hires. They've stopped hiring people. They've given the workers additional responsibilities, and those that can't handle those additional responsibilities, well, they let them go. So it's almost a test to see who's going to make it for the foreseeable future. Let's listen to this.
Last week's dismal jobs report showed hiring is weak. Just 22,000 jobs added last month. The unemployment rate rose to the highest level in 4 years, and the industries most exposed to tariffs, like manufacturing, are shedding jobs, not adding. A deep dive now into all of this and what this means about the economy right now. Matt Egan's been taking a look. What are you finding?
Yeah, Kate, well, you're right. That was a dismal jobs report on Friday, but it was especially grim for those industries most exposed to tariffs, right? So look at mining and logging. Lost 6,000 jobs in August alone, 7,000 lost in construction. Manufacturing and wholesale trade losing 12,000 jobs apiece in 1 month. And this month was not an anomaly. Apollo Global Management has found that if you look at those tariff-exposed industries, they started losing jobs shortly after this trade war started, and it's continued. For example, U.S. manufacturing, it's lost jobs 4 months in a row. You go back to April, that was the month that those sky-high tariffs really were first announced. Employment was unchanged during that month. So this is, of course, the exact opposite of what the White House is looking for, right there.
Okay. So yeah, it's the exact opposite. We're not seeing job growth, not in some of these industries. And this is where it's scary because the tariff, kind of that tariff industries or the industries exposed by the tariffs, manufacturing is one of them. Retail is another one. But are we going to see additional growth? Are people going to jump into these industries? Honestly, we don't know. That's something we're going to find out soon enough. But here's the scary thing. We're coming up on a time of the year for Q4. This is when everybody's shopping, buying stuff for Christmas and the holiday season. Now, are we going to see this really blow up? Are we going to see sales increase? Or are we going to see sales hurt and we're going to see additional layoffs as a result? Well, we're going to find that out soon enough. All I can tell you right now is this report that came out, all this did was pretty much confirm what many economists were previously believing, that the economy wasn't as strong as people were saying it was. So, let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is a good report? Are you glad we're actually seeing the true numbers? Or are you a little bit concerned because of how high this came in? Let me know down in the comment section below. But again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.